evening. Welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host. This is the last video on the subject of leaving the abuser, at least from Lundy Bancroft. Why does he do that inside the minds of angry and controlling people? In the last video, we covered danger signs to look out for in abusive people. This part, which is the sixth video, covers safety planning. Assuming that list previously had several valid, accurate circumstances you're going through, the next step is to get out of there and to make sure you do so in a safe manner. In Bancroft's book, he says that the fact that you're even wondering how far your partner's abuse might go suggests to him that you've already seen enough aspects of him that are disquietingly mysterious or frightening. And he strongly urges you, if you're a lady, to seek assistance from a program for abused women and create a strategic safety plan with an abuse specialist through that program. Safety plans can involve two different sets of steps. One set is for increasing your safety while living with your partner, and another for if and when you decide to leave the partner. Bear in mind that the process of leaving an abusive person can be quite risky. So if you're preparing for a breakup, put some extra thought into the kinds of precautions that you can take after doing so. Specialists who work with abused ladies report that those women who succeed in leaving and staying away almost always have some kind of plan before they leave. A safety plan while you're living with your abusive partner can include the following elements, among several others. Plan different escape routes from your house in case your partner becomes violent, and make a plan as far as where you're going to go if you need to stay somewhere else overnight. Hide any spare car keys you have, or any important documents like your birth certificate, your car title, your bank card, your health cards, in places where they'll be safe, yet you can grab them and run if you need to. Try to get out of dangerous places during arguments with the creature, such as if you're in the kitchen where there are knives everywhere and other sharp objects, the abuser could use them. So take the argument to the porch or somewhere else. Obtain a private post office box or some other address you can use to receive confidential mail. Design code words with your friends and or relatives and children that indicate an emergency, and plan how they are to respond if you say that code word in person or on the phone. Open a secret bank account so you'll have access to funds in case you need to flee. Keep a working phone in a room with a door that locks so you'll be able to call for help if there is any kind of emergency. Carry a cell phone. Well, that one doesn't need to be listed here. We all do. Obtain a firearm permit so that you can carry pepper spray. Stay away from drugs and alcohol yourself to make sure that your judgment is never impaired, and seek substance abuse treatment for yourself if necessary. Call the abused women's hotline if you're afraid, and call the police if there is immediate danger. Now, after you leave the abusive person, there are additional items you can add to your safety plan, and a few of those would include: change your locks on your home, tell the neighbors of the danger and give them descriptions or photographs of the abusive person, which they probably have already seen from looking out their windows. Inform people at your workplace of the potential danger against yourself. Tell the kids not to talk to the abuser and to seek assistance immediately if they happen to see it. Advise the local police department of the risk to you, including any past threats or violence by your ex-partner. Ask what special services or protections may be available. Inform the children's school teachers and administrators of the risk and provide them with a picture of the abusive person and other information, including a copy of the restraining order if you got one. Teach the kids how to dial 911 from the home and cell phone. Vary the routes that you and your kids travel. If you plan to involve the court, such as by seeking a restraining order, contact a court advocate if there's one available, and develop an additional safety plan with that advocate that specifically addresses how you can most safely use the court process. If you do get a restraining order, keep a copy on your person at all times, and leave additional copies in your home, in your car, in your workplace desk, and in other places. These are selected examples of plans you can make, ideally with the assistance of the abuse specialist, to increase your safety and protect your children. You can call an abuse hotline and develop a safety plan without even providing your name or phone number, ensuring your complete anonymity. If you can go to an abused women's program if you're a lady, and meet with an advocate face-to-face, all the better. He also strongly recommends the books When Love Goes Wrong and It's My Life Now, and these books he recommends for any lady who's struggling to get safe from a frightening partner, and I don't know anything about those books. I have not looked into those. So check them out. Read them online for free if possible. Now, if you're terrified of your abusive partner, it's very important to make a safety plan, even if you're not planning to leave him today. If it has demonstrated that it has a capacity for violence, or you suspect that it does, there is every reason to start planning right now for how you're going to keep yourself and your kids safe should a dangerous situation arise in the future. Some psychologically abused women feel confident that their partners would never escalate to violence or threats. However, in his experience, Bancroft, most abusive men, though not all, do become physically frightening sooner or later, even if they never follow through with using violence. It makes sense for every abused lady to spend some time considering how she'll respond if the unexpected happens. If you're prepared to leave your relationship, safety planning becomes even more important. If you're terrified of your partner, don't tell it that you're breaking up with it until you have a clear plan and feel that you can inform it in a safe way. Then break all contact with it. Staying out of touch with the abusive ex-partner can be very tough. The more afraid you are of this creature, the more tempted you may feel to check up on how it's doing, because in the past, your safety may have depended on your constant awareness of his moods or her moods and readiness to respond to them. But making contact with this creature can be very dangerous, as it may sound friendly and say that it just wants to see you one final time for one final talk, or just to say goodbye, then use that opportunity to attack you physically or sexually. Bancroft said he's been aware of a few cases where the man made an innocent-sounding excuse to get together. "Oh, I left my toothbrush over. Can I come and get it?" Just once. And then he murdered the woman for having left him. It's natural to have the hope of staying friends with an ex-partner, but this is rarely possible if it's an abusive person, and is absolutely impossible with one who's physically dangerous to you. And if he doesn't choose to hurt you, it may lure you into becoming re-involved with it instead. The next section here is abused women with children. Ending a relationship with an abusive person can be considerably more complicated for a lady with kids, especially if the abuser is the legal father, which means biological or adoptive. The risk that the abuser will try to harm children, turn them against you, or attempt to win custody of them through the legal system requires additional strategic planning process. If you decide to flee abruptly, take your children with you if you can, and take their birth certificate, their social security cards, and their passports. Some ladies are in so much danger that they are forced to leave the children behind, but the abusive person then may go to court for custody, saying that she abandoned them. Bancroft then gives some key points to remember. When a breakup happens against the abusive person's will, it may define the ex-partner's decision as a provocative declaration of independence and may go to war to prove that she belongs to him. Leaving an abusive person is very difficult to do, but with time and planning, you can do it. As a relationship dissolves, and for a long time afterwards, an abused person should be especially alert to their own safety and take steps to protect themselves. After breaking up with an abusive person, wait at least a few months before becoming involved with a new partner. Taking time to heal emotionally from the abuse you've endured can be critical to helping you choose a non-abusive person in the future. And finally, your life belongs to nobody but you.
I am the Narcopath, and you ain't.
I'm here to give you some more confessions. I know one of the big things on your mind after me dating you and getting all close up into your life and then leaving you for somebody else. When you saw me in public with someone else, I noticed you seemed kind of confused when you were overhearing me talk to my latest partner. You stared in disbelief because I know I was saying things differently than I did with you. I was using a different accent. I dressed differently, and you were dumbfounded. Well, honey, I'm here to tell you why this is. You probably wondered when you saw this, who is she? Who is she? I thought I knew her, but I didn't recognize that person. You want to know about my personality? Well, let me make it easy for you, honey. I ain't got one. That's right. I don't have a personality. You wondered how we clicked so easily, how things just seemed to fall into place with us because I went along with anything and everything you suggested. And notice, I didn't start making suggestions until after you'd made plenty that I could make a list from. Honey, that's my secret. I take on the personality of whomever it is I choose for my latest target. So if I meet you and you're a sports fan and you love all the football teams, well, when you're not looking, I'll go study up on all of them and pretend like I know about them and have discussions with you, which I did a few, and you seemed to treat me like I didn't really know what I was talking about, which actually I didn't. So maybe I got some of the facts wrong. But regardless, I soothed you with my teeth and my Virginia, and you quickly forgot all such foolish things. That's the way I do it. The latest one, he's into necrophilia, and I'm not quite sure what that is yet. But I'm going to look it up and find out if maybe I can oblige him with his fetish.
Now, as far as love goes, I told you my new marriage had nothing to do with it. Well, my husband doesn't know that. And actually, kind of does. I told him I loved him, and it worked. It made him melt and give me what I wanted. So whatever this word love means, I don't have a clue. All I know is it was my ticket out of poverty. It got me where I needed to be. You couldn't get me there, so I had to cut ties. I know it was rather abrupt after I told you I loved you.
But the fact is, I don't know what love is except a word I can use to get what I want. Seems to work. It worked with you until I saw your lack of money. It's working for him. And don't you think of telling him anything, because if you do, I will tell him you're crazy. Since I'm giving confessions, I might as well bring up the time that it was your idea for us just to play around on the computer, and we were looking through the Craigslist ads. I suggested we look in another city, but you wanted to look in town. Remember the moment that you clicked on one of the ads that struck your fancy, evidently, and out popped a close-up of my Virginia with my special tattoo that nobody else has? And you were livid? Remember I told you there's no way that's my picture, even though the stats pretty much added up. The location pretty much added up. You threw a fit. All these things, of course, you pointed out. And the writing style sounded a lot like mine. Well, honey, I told you over and over, there's no way I could do that when never seeing you. But what need would I have for that, even though I used to disappear for several nights of the week and never knew where I was?
And I know what you're thinking. You were really dead set at the time, insisting it had to be my picture. You just gave all these facts that indicated it was my picture, and I just continued to tell you how wrong you were. I even took it as far as to actually get upset with you and cry and tell you I can't believe you would think I could ever cheat on you.
Fine. Yes, you were right after all that arguing. That was my Virginia, and I was getting it on the side, and you did not need to know about it. You were being nosy and crossing a boundary by looking at that ad to begin with. Who cares if it's mine? That's none of your business. It didn't last, obviously. You just need to mind your own business, as I've told you 1,000 times before!
I'd like to have a moment of silence for my hero, Charles Manson. He's deceased. I was trying to get with him.
I was writing him letters to prison, telling him how I admired his work and how beautiful he was. Now I'll never have the chance to be with him. So let's have a moment of silence. Charlie! Oh, Charlie! He never responded to any of my mailings. All I wanted was a conjugal visit with him. That too much to ask? Well, of course I had several others scheduled. I never get enough. Well, it's his loss.